Bonjour, bonjour, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Cyril, I have been a stem cell researcher for quite some time, and this is why I can tell you about the science that is behind skincare ingredients. And for today's video, I'm going to do a follow-up on my Japanese sunscreen series. So I've already done one video on some of the Anessa sunscreen. I've also done a video on the Skin Aqua line, and for today's I'm going to review two products from the Japanese brand Allie. So I invite you to check my other videos and I'm going to link them down below. So Allie is owned by Kanebo Cosmetics, and for today's video I'm going to review two sunscreen from Allie I have bought in Japan during my last trip, which was in May if I'm not mistaken, and another one that I've bought online. So the first one is the Allie Extra UV Perfect. If you are not new to my channel, you will know that I only recommend SPF 50+ with the maximum of UVA protection, and in Asian sunscreen, and it is the case for Japanese sunscreen, with a PA rating of 4+, which is the rating of the UVA protection. So this one is a milk, so it is a texture that is very famous in Japanese sunscreen, so it is a very lightweight texture, and the filter in this one are very excellent because we have redundancy. So the first one is Zinc Oxide. Zinc Oxide is a mineral-based sunscreen that is a broad-spectrum UV filter, so it filters the UVB, the UVB type 2 and also the UVA type 1 that are the most aging for the skin. Then it have octinoxate that is mainly a UVB filters, and in almost all Japanese sunscreen that I know of, they all contain octinoxate. Then we have titanium dioxide, which is also a mineral sunscreen that filters UVB and UVA type 2. And the last one is Uvinol A+, that is an excellent photostable filters for UVA type 1. So what I love about this combination of filters is that, like I said, you have redundancy. You don't only have one filter for UVB, not only one for UVA type 2 and the same for UVA type 1. So according to Allie, the Extra UV Perfect milk, so this one has the strongest UV protection in all the Allie line. So obviously the SPF is something that is regulated, and if the SPF equals 60 or is higher, it has to be mentioned SPF 50+. So the highest protection is something that you have to believe the brand, because this is not something that is regulated. Also, Allie claims that it has the longest protection. So again, this is not something that is very regulated, but for sure with the SPF you are guaranteed that the SPF doesn't change for 2 hours. After 2 hours, obviously we don't know, and again we have to believe the brand for this. The Allie, like many other type of different Japanese sunscreen, and like the Anessa one, the UV Perfect milk, so this one form a veil on the skin that is very, very resistant. And I have to say that the Allie one, the UV Perfect, and the Anessa are probably the two sunscreen that I know of that form this film that really sticks onto the skin for hours and hours. And I can tell you, after only one application, after 12 hours of wearing it, I still have the slight the white cast on my face. That means that this sunscreen doesn't budge much. So does it mean that you don't have to reapply it? Absolutely not, because even though you still have a visible layer of sunscreen, it doesn't mean that the SPF did not decrease. So again, a quote that I love from Paula Begun, which is the founder of Paula Choice, is to be sun smart. So if you want to have an excellent protection on your day-to-day basis, when you know that you are not exposed to a lot of sun, so I'm thinking about the day that you are working in an office, you are not close to windows, you can probably with this sunscreen only do one coat of sunscreen in the morning and be pretty good for almost all day long. There's a really nice paper that have been done in early 2000, so not with those type of new type of filters that are supposedly more photostable and more resistant, that showed that with one single application of sunscreen, with of course the correct quantity, so a minimum of 1/4 of a teaspoon for the face, 8 hours after you have a decrease of 30% of the SPF. I'm thinking about those of you who like to wear makeup, you are on your day-to-day basis and you don't necessarily at the time, not the willing to reapply the sunscreen. This one is an excellent choice, or it also could be the Anessa one. Obviously, if you know that during the day, especially I'm thinking about the afternoon, you will be exposed to the sun because you are going to, I don't know, to do something outside or have a meeting outside for 1 or 2 hours, you will have to reapply for sure. But if you are only indoors, not in direct contact of sunlight through windows, I do think that it is safe to do only one application. And in that case, I like to choose like a super hardcore like sunscreen like this one that is also very, very elegant to use. So this one, like the Anessa one, has a friction-proof technology. So supposedly, even if you touch the sunscreen with your fingers, it is not supposed to disturb much the protective veil. And I have to say that, like the Anessa one, if I apply the correct amount on my hand, I run water on top of it and then I try to disturb it with my fingers, it doesn't move. So it is pretty impressive. What I also love about this sunscreen, and it is exactly the same with the Anessa and most actually Japanese sunscreen, is that it does not transfer into your clothes, which is obviously something that we all want. There's nothing worse than when you see that your sunscreen transfer and ruin your clothes. So for everyday protection and having something that is elegant, this one is also perfect. Speaking of that, because it contains zinc oxide and also titanium dioxide, and most likely at a pretty high concentration, but Kanebo does not disclose the concentration, it does have a visible white cast. It is not dreadful, and upon application, if you wait for something like 15 minutes, you can clearly see that the white cast diminish, but still it has a stronger white cast. And also it is not as, I would say, drying as the Anessa one. So definitely this one is, if you have normal to more oily skin, it will be fine. But if you are more on the drier side, you will have to apply a thicker moisturizer. With this one, you won't have this problem. The finish is also matte to slightly dewy, but just a tiny bit. It's not perfectly matte. I really like it because it's very natural, and also another feature that I absolutely adore with this one is that it is an excellent makeup base, and this one also is mostly silicone base. So it has this blurring effect on your pores, and also it goes very well with foundation that are silicone based. If you are worried about the white cast, what I invite you to do is to have the sunscreen with you, and then when you choose your shade of foundation, you choose it on top of the sunscreen to have a shade that is a bit darker to correct the white cast. Also, something that you need to remember with those type of texture, especially this one because it is very, very watery, even more watery than the Anessa one or the Skin Aqua, is to be really careful when you apply it because it's very easy to under apply and you don't want to have a streaky application. So work by area and apply a lot, then you wait for 5 to 10 minutes and then you apply your foundation. Also, when you apply your foundation, it is not a good idea to buff your foundation because you can disturb the layer of sunscreen. So a better method is to pat in your foundation. So to do this, you can simply use your fingers, but it's a bit longer. My favorite method for sure is to use one of those Korean cushion puff. And what I usually do, I take my sunscreen, I put a little bit on the sponge, then I put the foundation on my hand, I dab, and then I apply it by a dabbing motion all over my face. And like this, you don't disturb the foundation, and at the same time, the blending is excellent with this one. Obviously, you can also use a beauty blender if you prefer this method, but the whole idea is to not disturb the layer of sunscreen. So this one, like the Anessa, contains alcohol. Probably the concentration is lower than the Anessa. I have never experienced any tingly sensation or something like that. I can slightly smell the alcohol, but it's barely there. And it has also this technology that is very reminiscent from the Anessa, where you clearly feel that when you apply the sunscreen, it deposits this really protective well, as if the alcohol is not able to penetrate. This is at least my feeling, I would say, about it. This is very impressive. It is definitely more of a high-end sunscreen because it is around the same price as the Anessa one, so it's around $30, something like that. It depends on the website, obviously. So it is a little bit pricey, but I have to say that the texture is so beautiful. It is so lightweight. It is not greasy at all. This one also is probably suitable for those of you who have acne. And also I love it to protect some area of my body, especially my arms. If you live in a really hot and humid countries, or you just don't like the really like greasy feeling, this one is perfect. And like I said, it is also not drying. So the second one that I want to show you, and I have already featured this sunscreen in one of my videos, I think it was in my Japanese haul and something like that, and also when I show you how to apply sunscreen, is this one. So this is the extra UV facial gel. So again, be very careful about the naming, because you have a 3 or 4 or something like that that have exactly the same packaging, but they are very different. And this one, this is the facial gel, and the writing is in pink. So again, this is an SPF of 50+, PA rating of 4+. The filters are slightly different. So the first one is Zinc Oxide. That, like I said, is a broad spectrum filter, so for UVB, UVA type 2 and UVA type 1. Then again we have oxide, which is mainly a UVB absorbent. We have titanium dioxide, which mainly absorbs UVB and UVA type 2. Then we have Tiernos of S, that is an organic broad spectrum filter. This is an excellent one that filters UVB, UVA type 2 and UVA type 1. Uvinol T150, which is also an excellent UVB absorber. A very low concentration helps to achieve a very high SPF. This one also has a very strong affinity for the keratin, which is the protein that you have in your skin. And the last one is Uvinol A+, which is also an excellent UVA type 1 filter. So overall, there's again a lot of redundancy with this one, which is obviously excellent. So the main difference is that this one is a sort of gel cream. I said a sort of because when you use it, it comes as a very thick cream, but once you apply it, it turns into this sort of gel slash essence. But I have to say that the spreading is definitely harder. With the milk, it is very easy to blend. It takes like 2 seconds, but again, be careful to not have a streaky application. With this one, definitely you need a little bit more work to use it, especially when you have facial hair like I do. You do need to massage it quite a bit. This being said, this is always an excellent features about it, because like this it is harder to under apply it first of all, and to have a streaky application. So the finish is slightly more matte than the milk, so this one, even though I would say that the milk is definitely has like a sort of very natural finish. It is not overly matte, not overly dewy, while this one is a bit more matte, but it is quite moisturizing at the same time. This one also contains alcohol. I have to say that from time to time, especially if I after the night, so usually on Sunday evening, this is where I use my AHA. If I use a more potent treatment, a more potent AHA, this one does tingle my skin the next day, so I usually don't tend to use it afterwards, while the milk does not. So I would guess that the alcohol in this one is probably a bit higher, but again, I don't know the concentration, so I cannot tell you. This one also has a white cast, but it is less visible than the milk, but it is a bit more stronger than the perfect milk from Anessa. This one has barely any white cast, while this one has a tiny bit. You can also apply makeup with it. It's not a problem. I don't find that as a makeup base it is as good as the milk, but still it is very beautiful. If a white cast is really a problem for you and you want to try one of the Allie, definitely go for this cream gel over the milk. So a feature that I've forgot to mention is that in both of them you have no notorious allergens, so you don't have any perfume with them, or like I like to say, some weird extract from plant and etc. So they are pretty safe to use. If you are acne prone, this one could be a good one. I always tend to say could be, because there is not a proper, I would say, ranking for comedogenic ingredients, so it's always hard to be sure of that. I am acne prone, and what makes my acne worse is definitely sunscreen. I don't have any problem with any type of oil. I've never had, even when I was a teenager with obviously much more pimples than now. I usually get 1 or 2 pimples per week, something like that. I currently have one in my beers. I'm not sure if you can see it thanks to my beer, but those one does not break me out. So comment down below and tell me what you thought about this video, and don't forget to watch my other videos on Japanese sunscreen. I'm going to link them down below like I said. If you like this video, please thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to ring the bell to not miss any of my new videos. You can also follow me on Instagram. I am Cyril Laurent. I thank you so much for watching me, and I will see you next time. Au revoir, bye bye.